Yo, what's up, guys and girls? How's everybody going? Today we are talking about Clavicular. You may have heard of him. And we're talking about this ideology called Lookism. Now, Clav doesn't exactly align with Lookism 100%, but he's quite close. And Lookism is basically the ideology that your looks predetermine your destiny. That the way that your face looks, your height, your stature, etc., determines what you get out of life. So we're going to be looking at Clav and this ideology through the lens of a few different philosophers, and I think it's quite interesting. It's quite interesting to see. So, first of all, why is Clav winning? This is very interesting to me because there are so many Looksmaxes, and there are better looking Looksmaxes than Clav, right? But Clav stands out from the rest. And why does Clav stand out from the rest? Why? I was watching a podcast with K Shami and Jack Neal, and when I watch K Shami, I find him to be quite flat. You know, he's a very polished guy, and his personality is very polished too. And that's what Looksmaxing is about, right? It's all about being polished, refined, perfect, making sure all the metrics are as good as they can be. And this quite evidently extends to his personality. You know, he's got the whole Patrick Bateman thing, Syrian psycho thing going on. That's his personality. But compared to Clav is a lot more comfortable in showing his rough edges.
Molecule, nigger.
He's a lot more comfortable in talking about his past insecurities, you know, and the black pill autism that he's been through, right? But the other Looksmaxing influences, and there's a lot. Nocturnal Kent comes to mind. A lot of these guys are stiff and emotionally flat. If we were to ask Carl Jung what's going on here, he would probably say that Clav has an integrated shadow and the others do not. And the shadow is basically everything in our psyche that we repress, that we don't like about ourselves. And the more that we try and push things that we don't like down within our psyche, our personality becomes very flat and boring. We don't connect with people. People can't connect with us. And being an influencer, it's a very important skill to have. All the biggest influencers out there, you know, the biggest Twitch streamers like iShowSpeed.
What's up?
Guess what?
What?
I'm gay!
You can see that they're so comfortable in themselves. They are so authentic. And that is why people love them. That is why people follow them. That is what makes them an actual good influencer. And the problem with Looksmaxing in general and Lookism as the ideology is that it's all about the external self-improvement and has almost nothing to do with that inner comfort, with that inner acceptance. Okay? So that is called integrating the shadow. That's finding the stuff that you don't like about yourself and accepting them and integrating them into your personality. Or else you become flat. You become boring. A really cool case study of this is Tyler Durden from Fight Club. And yes, he's a very attractive guy. But the thing that makes him so influential and so magnetic is that he knows himself so well. He knows his values so well. And he truly does not care about what other people think. And that's what makes him magnetic and influential. Where if you were to compare him to like a 6'5" hard max Looksmaxer, the difference between the two is astounding. One is magnetic, grounded, and real, and you could feel that. The other is coping. The other is coping with armor, you know, with an external shell to appear, you know, to appear masculine, to appear grounded, but it's something that you could feel. And the results speak for themselves. Again, Clav is winning because Clav is authentic, and that is magnetic to people. The other Looksmax's influences aren't winning because most of them are boring, and it is felt by people. So that's Carl Jung. That's integrating the shadow. That's knowing yourself deeply, bro. And so many people, they walk around with this shame, unconscious, and they push it down. The only way through is introspection, acceptance, self-compassion. If I were to give if you guys relate to this, what I'll tell you to do is to journal, really go deep, write that shit down. Friedrich Nietzsche. So Nietzsche has this idea of the will to power, right? And he thought that human beings were basically here to overcome, self-overcoming, to overcome challenges. To be in the state of striving is the most satisfying state that we can be in. And this is not ego validation. It's not gaining status. It's not looking good in comparison to others. So according to Nietzsche, this whole mogging culture, this lookism thing, completely irrelevant. Gay, stupid. Leave that shit out. For the record, anybody who says that is like obviously a child. Okay, besides the point. So, and this is important, guys, because all human beings just want to feel okay and content inside, right? We want to change the external world. Well, we try to change the external world. We try and get validation to make us feel okay inside. And that's literally everybody, right? We're trying to get validation. We're literally doing things for little bits of dopamine to get shot in our head, like pew, and those neurotransmitters, right? Right? We're completely driven by those mechanisms. So, according to Nietzsche, in order to feel the best, it's about this self-overcoming. And a really good way to look at this is that there's this axis, right? There's two axes. There is vertical growth and there's horizontal growth. Horizontal growth is all about ego gains, short-term satisfaction, getting more money, etc. Comparing yourself to others, looking good in comparison. And then there's what is truly satisfying to people, which is inward growth. Things like really knowing who you are, finding values and sticking to them, right? And by aligning yourself vertically, as Nietzsche would say, this gives you a real presence, a real charisma that is felt by people. And Clavicular, he has some of this for sure. But still, much of his well-being is really tied to validation. And I feel like if the culture were to change and the culture were to suddenly decide that he's cringe and that he isn't cool, I think his self-esteem and his self-worth and happiness would completely drop because he's still really orientated to that horizontal axis of winning, right? Of winning social games. And this is why people look smacks in the first place, okay? The reason why people look smacks is it's a biological imperative to survive, okay? The feeling of not being able to find a mate, to find a partner is like a really, really horrible feeling. So people want to look smacks because they think it gives them a better chance of finding a mate, right? Which is fine, which is all well and good. But it's still on that horizontal plane, right? You're still just doing things for little bits of validation, little bits of ego success, and it's not really horizontal, it's not really vertical. But just to be fair, look smacking can be a way for that vertical integration, for self-mastery. It can be seen as, moving towards the Übermensch, which is Nietzsche's idea of like the Superman, and that's just being all that you can be. So it can be used as a tool, to be all that you can be. And like, you can tell that I clearly care about my appearance. Of course I want to look as good as possible. But at the same time, I think to myself, does this help me live a joyful and fulfilling life? Are these the things that help me do that? Really what it's all about? Because I look good enough. I definitely look good enough. Really, me trying to look better is just at this point purely ego. Like purely ego. And if I were to think and really branch out and see outside the box, my alignment to this vertical growth, trying to spread a good message to the world, trying to add something to humanity, and really being in line with my purpose, that is what is actually going to give me that long-term joy and fulfillment over these ego gains, right? And that's aligning yourself to the will to power. So like I like to meditate, and recently I've been just really trying to dial in on my purpose and what I'm trying to do. That's aligning. That's vertical alignment. Julius Evola. Now, guys, this guy is such an interesting philosopher because of the way that he merges Eastern philosophy and like Western tradition, and he brings it all together. He's very esoteric. He's also very political. People think he's a Nazi. He's not actually a Nazi. He actually criticized the Third Reich. He thought that Nazism was a response to spiritual decay. But Evola's most striking point, and he's so relevant to today, because of his thoughts that the whole world is in spiritual decay. We have lost our way. We have lost our sacred order. We have lost, the majority of people have lost their way to vertical growth. Everybody are rats. Everybody is rats chasing cheese. And what I mean by chasing cheese, they're just in this ego treadmill. The ego sets a goal, another goal, just trying to get little bits of dopamine. They want a good job so they can get more dopamine, more zeros at the end of the check so they can get more dopamine, more looks maxing so they can get more dopamine. This whole thing is purely survival. It's a pure survival mechanism. And the way Evola sees it is that we sort of have this higher self and this lower self. We have this higher self, which is aligned to something greater, which is like aligned to the betterment of humanity and human consciousness. And then we have this lower self that just wants sex, power, etc. And this lower self is what is actually the drive for most people to looks max, is because they want to survive. So Evola would literally say that looks maxes, and the majority of them and Clav, are literally spiritually gay, that they're spiritually degenerates. So Evola, very much like Nietzsche, thought that the most fulfilling thing that human beings could do is have this vertical growth. And to have real charisma, real presence, that gives people, you know, when they talk to you, when they feel your vibe, that they go, oh, okay, this guy's real. This guy is making his own path. It is about this vertical alignment. It's about finding your purpose, finding what really matters to you. Okay? If I was just an ego rat, and I still am a bit of an ego rat, but if I was a purely ego rat, I wouldn't have quit my job, even though I was offered like double my salary. I would take peptides, I would get surgery, maybe I would be a looks maxing TikToker, you know, and shit like that. But I can feel it in my heart that this is not for me. In fact, what's so interesting, guys, is that every video I've made, the less ego that I have in the video, the more people connect with me. Whereas in other videos where I'm more egotistical, the video does worse, less people connect. And guys, I've got like a small community of people. Like I'm I'm a very small creator, but people do reach out to me and talk to me. They never come out to talk to me and connect to me because of the way that I look. Perhaps if you really believe in Lookism, you could say, oh, maybe the way that you look influences that. Maybe people trust you more. Okay, sure, I'll accept that. But people are coming to me and subscribing to me because of the information that I present. It really doesn't have a lot to do with the way that I look, right? It's got everything to do with who I am and what I'm about. You know, when Stacy tells the low tier normie, just be yourself, and the low tier normie bees himself, it doesn't fucking work. Do you know why? Because the low tier normie doesn't know himself. I mean, the low tier normie is probably completely programmed by Blackpill, programmed by his computer, watches hentai, and that's his life and his personality. But he's just another rat. He's another rat programmed, probably addicted to porn. You know, do you hear what I'm saying? He's a rat to his own. He's a rat to his lower self. There's no higher orientation. There's no real purpose. So, in conclusion, guys, Lookism is spiritually cut. We are in spiritual decay, just as Evola would say. We are in spiritual decay, and looks maxing is the most obvious symptom of that. The most obvious symptom of that. Truly. So, yeah, guys, and even if you're just like, you need to be able to zoom out and see what's gonna make me truly fulfilled. Because that's all human beings want. They want to feel fulfilled. They want to be joyful. They want to be content. Is the best pathway of doing that to be on the ego treadmill, to be in that rat race? Okay? And that rat race is very seductive. It really tries to get its grips on you, right? But, you know, you can do both. Looks maxing can be a way to orientate yourself higher, you know. You can still be a wagey. Perhaps you be a wagey to increase your sovereignty, to get more money. Or perhaps that you need to bodybuild and looks max so you can have the comfort and security of finding friendships or a partner, so you could then develop this vertical axis. You can do it like that. That is completely fine. But be careful that you're not another rat in the machine. You're not another cog in the machine who is a slave to his lower self. Okay? And that way, when people talk to you, they will know that you're for real. Be real. Thank you guys so much for watching. I've tried to record this video like 5 times. I really hope that you enjoy it. Thank you so much. Have a blessed day. Namaste, my friends. All love. Bye bye.